Shalom Aleichem! This video is the second in a series that I created to discuss parts of the Dragon Age franchise that were inspired by or have parallels to Jewish cultures. In the last video, I introduced this project along with my plans for it before discussing Dragon Age's dwarves. I recommend checking that episode out as it will provide some useful context and discuss some topics from this episode in further detail, but it isn't required viewing in order to understand this one. Before we can get into the video though, I'd like to reiterate some disclaimers. 1. This series focuses on the franchise's Jewish influences. This is not to say that the concepts covered here are unique to Jews, or that Jewish cultures were the franchise's only influence. 2. While some of these parallels have been confirmed as purposeful, others might just be the results of unconscious bias, inspiration taken from sources with Jewish influences, or just plain coincidence. 3. The thoughts and opinions in this series are my own, not representative of all Jewish peoples. Please remember that Judaism is a diverse umbrella of multiple sects and cultures that each have differing traditions and histories. 4. Customs, concepts, and creatures from Judaism have often been misrepresented by outsiders in ways that have perpetuated anti-Semitism. Because of this, please be mindful of how you interact with and discuss them. 5. This series aims to critically discuss the franchise's world building, not to shame or cancel people for how they've engaged with it. Got it? Great. I left you guys on a bit of a cliffhanger last episode with my claim that the biggest parallel between Dragon Age's dwarves and our world's Jews is their relationship to golems. Today we'll be discussing that dynamic in depth. To begin, let me lay down some groundwork about the significance of golems within Judaism. In Jewish folklore, golems are creatures made of earth that are animated through religious rituals to carry out their creator's commands. While golem stories these days tend to be cautionary tales that end with the creature going on a destructive rampage, traditionally their depiction was quite different. The creation of a golem used to be viewed as a deeply sacred act that only those who had achieved spiritual perfection could successfully perform. Creating a golem wasn't seen as playing God, it was seen as a collaboration with them. Long before golems were ever viewed as soldiers or tools, they were simply works of art that one made for the joy of creating something beautiful.
The act of creation is grand fun.
Which, in our religion, is considered a mitzvah, a deed that betters the world. The first tales we have in which golems were created to perform a specific task depicted them not as soldiers, but as domestic servants. There was one account from the 12th century of a rabbi making one to be his bodyguard, which I guess is more in line with the modern golem smash narrative that we have today, but this was an exception, not the rule. If you know any golem story, chances are it's that of Rabbi Lov and the Golem of Prague. If you're unfamiliar, the basic plot is Rabbi Lov creates a golem to protect Prague's Jews from anti-Semitism. Much of the anti-Semitism in this tale is fueled by blood libel, the false accusation that Jews use the blood of non-Jews, and especially non-Jewish children, in our religious rituals. This concept is absolutely ridiculous, seeing as Judaism strictly prohibits any form of blood sacrifice, be it from a human or a non-human. In fact, the consumption of blood is so taboo within Jewish cultures that our dietary laws require us to drain it from an animal completely before we can consume any of its meat. Blood libel has been used since at least the 2nd century BCE to call for violence against Jews. When instances of this spiked in 19th century Europe, the Jewish communities there began to depict golems as defensive figures rather than domestic ones. Golems no longer swept the streets, they patrolled them. Only they still hadn't become the violent automaton that many of us think of today. In early versions of the Golem of Prague story, it doesn't protect the Jewish community through violence, it does so by spying on those who want to cause it harm, so that the community can prepare against their attempted pogroms and prove when they were being framed. These variants usually end with the king outlawing violence against Jews, supposedly making the golem redundant. So, Rabbi Lov deactivates it and stores it in the synagogue attic, just in case it's ever needed again. This tale is set in the 16th century, but it became really popular in the 18th century as the Jewish neighborhood it takes place in was being gentrified. Anti-Semitic notions that Jews carried diseases had spread throughout Prague, leading many to call for the neighborhood to be sanitized. Almost all of the ghetto's buildings were torn down and replaced with luxury apartments intended for wealthy Christians. The Jewish families that had lived in Prague for generations were driven out not just of their neighborhood, but of the city itself. The Golem of Prague's tale was spread across the diaspora to defy Prague's attempts to erase and demean its Jewish history, to say that we would not forget our people's ties to that city and the way that it had treated us. And it worked. Even though Jews have gone from a fifth of Prague's population to less than 0.4% of it, our golem, our history, is one of the key things that people associate with the city. So, where did these depictions of the golem as a threat come from? In the first variant of Rabbi Loaf's tale to include a rampaging golem, this essentially only happens because the rabbi forgot to kiss it goodnight. You see, in Judaism, we have this weekly holiday called Shabbat, which is essentially a religiously mandated day off from work. It's also the reason why many Western countries have both Saturday and Sunday off instead of only Sunday. You're welcome. Every week, Rabbi Loaf would deanimate the golem so it too could spend Shabbat resting. Until one week he forgot to do so. Having no idea what it was supposed to be doing, the golem started futzing around and destroyed some property. But even in this version, the golem never physically hurts a person. That was an addition from our Christian neighbors. Rabbis initially supported sharing the golem's tale with Christians in order to correct their notions about blood libel and show the harm that this false accusation causes. But the story became so popular that Christians wanted to do their own retellings of it. Their own anti-Semitic retellings of it. The most famous of these, and the biggest influence behind most modern golem narratives, was Paul Wegener's The Golem, How He Came Into the World, in which the titular character is animated not through sacred Jewish rituals, but necromancy, and deals with demons, things Jews have been accused of to justify our persecution. Here the golem is ordered by a Jewish man to murder the Christian lover of a woman he likes. And from there, it goes on a rampage that culminates in it breaking out of the ghetto to attack little Christian children. Do we see the problem with this? This movie popularized the golem in non-Jewish minds as an iteration of the very things it is supposed to protect Jews from accusations of. The movie begins with a decree that Prague's Jews must be expelled because they endanger the lives and property of their fellow men and practice black magic. But the events of the movie only verify this claim. This movie and similar appropriations of the golem narrative made for non-Jewish audiences treat Jewish culture and resistance against anti-Semitism as a threat, spreading the message that if Jewish communities were ever given means to defend themselves, they'd soon switch to using them offensively. These appropriations were incredibly popular in the years leading up to the Holocaust, and I can't help but wonder how many of the horrific events that occurred during it were influenced by these works. When the Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto held their uprising to resist deportation and extermination, did the Christians living beyond their walls think of this movie? Did they think that if the Jews were allowed to live, that violence might leave those walls and come for them next? These days, when golems appear in video games, their Jewishness is rarely acknowledged. They don't defend Jews from their neighbors, they defend all villagers from supernatural and external threats. They aren't works of art only the most pious can animate through sacred rituals. They can be slapped together by anyone who knows a little blood magic. Every time I come across a golem in a video game that I'm supposed to defeat in order to progress the plot, I pause. These creatures are supposed to be the sacred protectors of my people. If I am fighting against them, even in a video game, who am I fighting for? The golems of Dragon Age are introduced to us as animated weapons that were invented by the dwarves, who we discussed the Jewish coding of in the last video. Each golem is paired with a control rod, and must obey the commands of whoever holds theirs. By the start of the first game, the magic anvil required to create them, along with the art of how to use it, has been lost, and the few golems that remain are incredibly valuable. Until you enter the deep roads or meet Shale, you have little reason to assume the golems are anything other than the automatons they appear to be. But Shale has a lot of personality for a supposedly non-sentient mechanism. While on the quest to recover the anvil, the player encounters a plot twist. Dragon Age's golems are powered by enslaved souls. Each was made by sealing a living person inside of a hollow golem and then drowning them in molten lyrium. While originally this process was only done to volunteers, the dwarven government started forcing criminals and casteless dwarves to undertake it due to the high demand for golems. Even those who willingly sacrificed themselves did so believing that these golems would be used to protect people from the Darkspawn, but many were sold to humans instead, who used them for objectifying tasks. While there are some Jewish stories in which golems perform similar tasks, the difference here is our golems aren't empowered by enslaved souls. You can't objectify something that's genuinely an object. Dragon Age's golems, like Wegener's, are linked to the very crimes that they are supposed to protect Jews from accusations of, and in Dragon Age's case, these crimes are being committed by a Jewish-coded group. Comparing the golems and dwarves' relationship to slavery in particular makes me extra uncomfortable due to the harm that has been and continues to be caused by false claims surrounding Jewish cultures and their relationship to slavery. Take, for example, the allegation that Jews were behind or disproportionately involved in the transatlantic slave trade. I will not deny that some of the people who participated in those horrors were Jewish, but the allegation that the majority of them were has had devastating impacts on Black and Jewish solidarity, continuing to affect both of our communities to this day, despite having been debunked for decades. Predating that conspiracy theory was one from the turn of the century, which alleged that Jewish American immigrants were trafficking white women. This was used to ethnically profile Jews and led to false claims with very real repercussions. This belief was brought over from Europe, where when Christian girls went missing, Jewish people were often blamed and accused of having trafficked them to other continents. The most relevant anti-Semitic slavery myth today is one spread by QAnon, the accusation that Jews enslaved children to harvest their blood. I'll let you all unpack that one. All of these conspiracy theories portray Jews as relying upon, profiting off of, and covering up slavery, much in the way that Dragon Age's dwarves do with their golems. I want to reiterate that in Judaism, you can no more enslave a golem than you can enslave a Roomba, because the term enslavement implies a certain level of personhood that before recent retellings, golems were never thought to have had. Comparing golems, which are essentially robots, to enslaved people is actively dehumanizing to the latter and their struggles. It isn't appropriate to flippantly treat slavery as a metaphor. It's a very real and traumatic issue that continues to affect millions of people. And come on, Dragon Age isn't saying anything particularly revolutionary that warrants this metaphor. This isn't to say that Jews have never used golems to create narratives about labor exploitation, but we've typically done so through the lens of gender. While in Dragon Age, all but one of the golems we know of are powered by the souls of men, in Judaism, there are tons of golem girls. After all, before the image of golems as bodyguards was popularized, they were typically assigned feminine duties such as housework. Many Jewish women identify with golem narratives, feeling like they too are treated as silent objects, whose divine purpose is simply to carry out whatever orders the man they belong to gives them. This has inspired a variety of feminist golem retellings, but I don't consider Shale an extension of that tradition. Shale seems extremely dismissive of gender, using its pronouns for both itself and everyone it meets.
Am I in it now too? I feel honored.
And while it lived as a woman back when it was a dwarf, it no longer sees itself as one.
I did not realize that you were a woman.
That is because I am not. I am a golem.
The reason I'm fine with these feminist retellings, while I find the enslavement ones insensitive, is the former trivializes real-world issues by using them as shock factor to spice up takes on the fantastical golem, while the latter uses golems to comment upon and expand discussions surrounding real-world issues. Furthermore, these feminist retellings often embrace the golem's Jewish roots, rather than erasing them the way Dragon Age and many other fantasy franchises do. When you finally find the Anvil of the Void in Dragon Age Origins, you are given the choice between using or destroying it. But regardless of what you choose, golems are barely relevant in Dragon Age 2, and completely absent in Inquisition. To be honest, I'd be fine, or perhaps even prefer, if Dragon Age chose to leave its golems in the past. But with the next game taking place in Tevinter, the land where most of the golems were non-consensually sold to, I am bracing myself for some uncomfortable moments in Veilguard. Obviously, I don't expect this video to change any of Veilguard's content. It is way too late in development for that. But I do hope it will change how you as the viewer interact with it and other golem depictions. And hey, if you want to play a video game where the choices you make have an impact, and golems are used to explore questions surrounding labor and free will without getting anti-Semitic while still acknowledging their Jewish roots, then The Ghost and the Golem is perfect for you. I've played it at least 5 times since it came out last August, and it does a phenomenal job at portraying Ashkenazi culture and folklore with respect. Thank you for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. If you want to support me in this series' creation, sharing my videos with others, leaving comments, liking, and subscribing does a lot. If you want to support me even further, thank you so much, I have a Patreon where a pledge of as little as $1 a month gets you weekly updates and puts your name in the credits of future videos. Higher tiers also get access to bonus content such as concept art, sneak peeks, behind the scenes stuff, and bloopers. I'll see you all soon!